Somewhere in a house tonight, someone is going to get out of bed, walk down a hallway, maybe open a refrigerator, or stand quietly in a doorway, and have absolutely no memory of any of it tomorrow. Their eyes might be wide open. They might even answer a question if you ask them one. And there's a rule almost everyone has heard at some point, passed down like a piece of survival knowledge. Never wake a sleepwalker, or something terrible will happen to them. Today we're checking exactly how true that is, because the real explanation for what's happening in a sleepwalker's brain is stranger than the warning itself. Here's what sleepwalking actually is, before we get into the myths. It happens during deep, slow-wave sleep, a stage your brain cycles through earlier in the night, not during the dreaming stage most people assume. In this state, part of your brain, the part responsible for movement and basic motor patterns, is essentially awake and active, while the part responsible for full conscious awareness and memory formation stays offline. That split is the whole story. You get a body that can walk, respond, sometimes even hold a basic conversation, controlled by a brain that isn't fully there to experience or remember any of it. Myth number 1. Waking a sleepwalker can be dangerous enough to stop their heart or cause serious physical harm. Verdict: false. And this is the version of the myth that's genuinely the most exaggerated. There's no documented mechanism by which the shock of being woken up during a sleepwalking episode causes cardiac arrest or serious physical injury on its own. The idea likely persists because waking up confused and disoriented in an unfamiliar situation looks and feels alarming, both for the sleepwalker and whoever's watching, which made it easy for the story to escalate over generations into something medically dramatic that it isn't. Myth number 2. Sleepwalkers keep their eyes closed, the same way they'd look if they were just lying in bed. Verdict: false. And this is actually one of the more unsettling accurate details. Sleepwalkers very often have their eyes open, sometimes with a blank, glassy stare, which is part of why encountering one can feel so disturbing. Their motor system is active enough to navigate around furniture and open doors, and open eyes are part of that same partially active state. Myth number 3. Sleepwalkers never remember anything about the episode afterward. Verdict: true, for the large majority of cases. Because sleepwalking happens during a stage of sleep where the brain regions responsible for forming new memories are largely shut down, there's often nothing to recall in the first place. Not a suppressed memory, just one that was never created. Some people do report vague fragments, but a full, clear memory of the episode is rare. Myth number 4. Sleepwalking runs in families. Verdict: true, and the genetic link here is fairly well established. Studies comparing identical and non-identical twins, along with family history data, consistently show that having a parent who sleepwalks significantly raises your own odds of doing it too. Researchers haven't pinned down a single gene responsible, but the hereditary pattern shows up clearly across the data. Myth number 5. Sleepwalkers are physically acting out their dreams. Verdict: false. And this mixes up two different things that happen to occur during sleep. Vivid, story-like dreaming is most strongly associated with REM sleep, a completely different stage than the deep, non-REM sleep where sleepwalking actually occurs. Sleepwalkers aren't performing a dream narrative. Their movements are closer to basic motor patterns running without a coherent story behind them, which is part of why sleepwalking behavior tends to look repetitive or aimless rather than purposeful the way dream acting would. Myth number 6. Sleepwalkers can't really hurt themselves because their brain is somehow protecting them. Verdict: false. And this one is worth taking seriously. Injuries during sleepwalking episodes are well documented, ranging from tripping and falling to more serious incidents involving stairs, windows, or leaving the house entirely. The partial awareness that lets someone navigate a hallway doesn't come with the judgment or full sensory processing needed to reliably avoid every hazard. Myth number 7. Only children sleepwalk. Verdict: false. Though the age pattern is real to a point, sleepwalking is significantly more common in childhood and tends to decrease with age for most people, but it doesn't disappear entirely. A meaningful number of adults continue to experience it, and in some cases, it can even start fresh in adulthood, often triggered by sleep deprivation, stress, fever, or certain medications. Myth number 8. Sleepwalkers can only manage simple, mindless actions like shuffling around a room. Verdict: false. And this is one of the more surprising findings in sleep research. Documented cases include sleepwalkers getting dressed, preparing food, and in rare but well-recorded instances, even driving a car, all while in a state with no conscious memory being formed. It's not common, and it's certainly not something to test, but it demonstrates just how much complex behavior the motor control side of the brain can carry out on its own. Now for the one that's genuinely more nuanced than a flat yes or no. Myth number 9. You should never, under any circumstances, wake a sleepwalker. Verdict: nuanced. And this is really where the honest advice lives. Waking someone mid-episode isn't medically dangerous the way the extreme version of the myth suggests, but it isn't exactly recommended either, for more practical reasons. A sleepwalker who's suddenly startled awake can become confused, frightened, or disoriented. And in some cases, that reaction itself increases the risk of a fall or an injury in the moment of waking, especially if they're standing somewhere precarious. Most sleep specialists suggest gently guiding a sleepwalker back toward bed rather than trying to fully wake them, not because waking them is harmful in itself, but because a calm redirection is simply safer in practice than an abrupt one. So let's pull this together. 2 of these turned out to be true. Sleepwalkers generally don't remember the episode, and the tendency does run in families. 1 sits in a nuanced zone. Waking a sleepwalker isn't dangerous the way the scary version claims, but gently guiding them back to bed is still the safer, more practical choice. And several were false despite sounding believable. Sleepwalkers' eyes are often open. They aren't acting out a dream. Their brain isn't protecting them from injury. It's not just a childhood thing, and in rare documented cases, they can carry out surprisingly complex behavior. Every source referenced today is on screen right now, so you can go verify it yourself. If a warning has been repeated enough times that nobody questions where it came from, that's usually exactly the kind of claim worth checking. Subscribe if you want to keep digging into these with us, because there's another one coming next week,